His previous life was called Yin Shenyu, a humble worker in the Sanyong Group, the largest chaebol in South Korea. On the surface, he was the head of the group's acid group, but in fact, he was just a loyal dog raised by the chaebol family. He couldn't leave his phone when taking a shower and was always ready to be sent. When he met a chaebol family, he had to bow 90 degrees like a servant, and ask him to fix the toilet when it was broken. But even so, the vice president still poured tea on his head for no reason to humiliate him. You want people to be the same, you want people to be the same, the people in the group are still in that group and can't get around it, then you go to the family and let everyone hear it. Colleagues often gossiped about him behind his back, saying that he had only gotten to his current position by flattering others after graduating from high school. Faced with all kinds of sarcasm, he never cared. When the prosecutors conducted surprise inspections, he would also stand up to protect the interests of the group. On this day, a subordinate handed him a document that completely changed his fate. It detailed the large transactions of Shenyang Group over the years. He found that someone in the group secretly transferred assets abroad, so he reported the matter to the vice president as soon as possible. He finally won the appreciation of the vice president for his great contribution and was authorized to go abroad on behalf of the company to recover the money. Things went more smoothly than he expected. The funds in Beijing were successfully received, but just as he was about to return, an accident happened. The driver took him into a dark alley, and a group of mysterious people stopped the taxi. Seeing that the other party was not friendly, Yun Woo decisively got out of the car and ran away with the bag. After a life-threatening rush, he finally got rid of the other party, but was hit by a passing child. Unexpectedly, this group of children were also the other party's helpers. Yun Woo had hallucinations and fainted. When he woke up, he found that he was taken to the beach. Turning around, he saw that the people chasing him were actually his subordinates who usually took care of him. It seems that someone in the chaebol family wanted to get rid of him, but his fate was not to end. The moment he fell off the cliff into the water, he traveled through time to the chaebol family's youngest son Chen Daojun, and met the long-dead founder of Shenyang Group, Chairman Chen. Today is the old chairman's 60th birthday. Daojun's father, who had a falling out with his family because of his wife, came with his two sons to celebrate. This is their first time to visit their grandfather's house. As the richest chaebol family in South Korea, the mansion is naturally extremely luxurious. Daojun secretly decided in his heart that since God has given him the opportunity to be reborn, he must live a glorious life in this life and find out who killed him. As a chaebol family that controls the lifeline of South Korea's economy, the youngest son of this family has no record in history. This is the #1 taboo after rebirth, because Daojun may become a victim of the family's struggle for power if he is not careful, so there is no trace left in the future. At the birthday party of the chaebol grandfather, he accidentally ran into his uncle's eldest son, who is the future vice president with a bad temper. He sneaked into the collection room to steal the collection, but accidentally broke his grandfather's most precious white porcelain. He was guilty and began to cry thief. On the one hand, there are many people who are just a bunch of idiots. They are the ones who took care of him in a hurry. Not only are they not the ones who lied to you, everyone rushed over after hearing the news. The cousin immediately framed Daojun for breaking the white porcelain, but Daojun took out the evidence from his pocket and cleared his suspicion. The furious cousin punched him in public. At this time, the chaebol grandfather finally appeared. He did not blame the eldest grandson, but came to the fragments and taught the eldest grandson earnestly to learn to restrain himself, because he had read the autobiography of the old chairman in his previous life. Daojun on the side said, "You actually repeated the old president's words word for word." Suddenly, he realized that since it was 1987, his mother was still alive. He ran towards his home. In the shabby shop, his mother was busy entertaining customers. He plucked up the courage to go in and ordered a bowl of soup and rice. Looking at the soup and rice that only existed in his memory, his emotions finally broke out. At this time, Daojun's mother also came over, and he knew it was time to make a choice. In this life, perhaps it is the best choice not to disturb the family that once raised him. After venting his emotions, Daojun calmly analyzed his situation. Although he is now nominally a chaebol son, his father and grandfather broke up. So his family has actually never been well received, so now he has to find a way to make the old man happy and let him recognize that he is a promising talent. Soon the opportunity came. At that time, South Korea was in the transition period from military government to democratic government. As the helmsman of Sanyong Group, which presidential candidate the old chairman supports is crucial to the future development of the group's business. The family members have their own opinions, but for Daojun, who will be the president, has long been known. He told everyone that Roh Tae-woo will win the election, but no one took his words seriously. As a result, after Daojun left, the TV reported that the alliance broke up and Roh Tae-woo might become the president. The news of the election, this time the grandfather could not sit still, immediately called Daojun, and asked him why he could predict the future. Daojun lied that he only knew the story of the snipe and the clam fighting. At present, the two candidates with the highest number of votes have the support of big chaebols, and they will definitely fight to the death. No matter who you vote for, it will only be icing on the cake, and it doesn't make much sense. It's better to vote for the third place with the lowest number of votes, Roh Tae-woo. If you help in times of need, people will return the favor, and the family will get a greater return in the future. Grandpa stood up and didn't answer, but asked another difficult question. Anyway, the theory is that the party is fighting, and the country is coming. Daojun couldn't answer for a while, not knowing what his grandfather was up to. When he read a magazine at night, he suddenly realized that his grandfather was not most concerned about the South Korean election, but industrial upgrading. Sanyong Group has been deeply involved in various industries such as electronic finance. As long as it can master the core resources of semiconductors, it will be able to use them to make mobile phone chips in the future. At present, the semiconductor industry in the United States and Japan is well developed, which puts South Korea in danger. He quickly called his grandfather and learned that he heard that Grandpa was on a business trip abroad, and asked about the return date and flight, only to find out that it was the flight that crashed in the previous life. He hurried to Grandma's house and asked for Grandpa's secretary's phone number, asking him to make sure Grandpa transferred. But at night, the bad news still came, and the whole family gathered together urgently. After confirming the plane list, they collapsed. But at this moment, Grandpa suddenly appeared behind them and scolded everyone, saying that he was not dead yet, but they were crying, and then he went upstairs. The reason why Grandpa escaped was all thanks to Daojun's previous phone message, which wrote the last date for the acquisition of the semiconductor company, in order not to miss the good maintenance. He asked his grandfather to change the flight in time and return to Korea in advance, which saved his life by accident. But this also made him doubt his grandson's ability, and he asked the next day, "Jun, you have a chance, you are from Korea." Daojun said that he was good at guessing his grandfather's mind. No matter how much the big fish fought each other, the shrimp could not eat the big fish. What his grandfather wanted was someone to support him and help him make up his mind, and he was just going with the flow. This careful answer made his grandfather very satisfied, and he asked Daojun what reward he wanted on the spot. Daojun pointed to the map and said that he wanted this piece of farmland without a building. This was a bargain for his grandfather, so he generously gave him 50,000 square meters. Daojun knew in his heart that in 10 years, this would become a hot residential development area in Seoul and its market value would increase hundreds of times. 24 billion is an astronomical figure for ordinary people, but for the top chaebols, it is just pocket money to reward their grandson. The secretary reminded the chaebol grandfather that Daojun is only 20 years old now, and this money is too much for him, but the grandfather didn't care and said, "Maybe one more bottle, it's hard to solve without a secretary. You can live with me and keep me safe." In the eyes of his grandfather, this money is a reward and a test for Daojun, and the old man's exclusive love for his grandson has begun to make his uncles feel a sense of crisis. Daojun is not only the first top student in the chaebol family, who was admitted to the Department of Political Science and Law of Seoul University with the first place in the country, but also showed excellent investment ability at a young age. He once urged his father's newly established film company to introduce a movie that no one was optimistic about at the time, Home Alone. He became an unprecedented box office hit that year, which directly made the company take off on the spot. This time, he followed his father to the United States to welcome. Zahn planned to invest in Cameron's Titanic. As a time traveler, he knew how popular this movie would be, and investing in it would bring him both fame and fortune. At this time, they saw a female consultant persuading another Korean investor not to invest in this movie. He thought that Leo was a vase with no acting skills, and the hero and heroine Kate Winslet was a middle-aged fat aunt. It was also a shipwreck theme, so the box office would definitely sink. The uncle ignored it and gave his own unique insights. "I don't know what this part is. His phone said so. He was very high, just singing the one of Aoki." This look caught Dao Jun's attention. He went back to investigate and found that the other party was Wu Shixuan, the head of investment in the Asia-Pacific region, so he wanted to recruit him for cooperation. Wu Shixuan was not moved at all by the boy who appeared out of nowhere, and even thought he was disturbing him. Watching the crucial chess game, Dao Jun had a flash of inspiration and came up with an idea. This was the first duel between artificial intelligence Deep Blue and humans. With a god's perspective, he naturally knew the final result, so he made a bet with the uncle that if the artificial intelligence won, he would agree to a request for himself. As expected, artificial intelligence won. After seeing Dao Jun's predictive ability, Wu Shixuan became his white glove. 24 billion is rolling more and more in secret. As soon as he returned from the United States, Dao Jun ran to report to his grandfather that he was safe. He saw that the family was discussing the acquisition of Handao Steel. This acquisition was handed over to his uncle. If he failed, the position of heir would also be handed over to someone else. Their concerns were not wrong. The old man had been sending people to secretly monitor his grandson, obviously to see if he met the conditions to be a successor in the future. Considering the issue of intergenerational inheritance, Dao Jun, who returned to campus, was suddenly stopped by a luxury car. The visitors were a group of dandies who invited Dao Jun, who was also a rich second generation, to attend a famous family meeting. At this moment, a familiar figure caught Dao Jun's attention. In order to get rid of the entanglement, Dao Jun took the phone and left his number. Soon, he met the girl again in the library. He was surprised to find that the other party was the female prosecutor who had always opposed him in the previous life. His family had been officials for generations, so Dao Jun took the initiative to build a good relationship with her. On the other hand, the acquisition of the steel plant by Dabo really had problems. A foreign investment company completed the acquisition with a huge price of 500 billion, which made Dabo furious and ordered his men to do whatever they wanted. The price investigates the details of the buyer Wu Shixuan, but the grandfather keenly sniffs out that the other party is just a chess piece charging into battle, and the real chess player is someone else. That night, Wu Shixuan meets Dao Jun alone. He is the mastermind behind everything in secret, in order to bring down the uncle first. This Korean drama is called The Youngest Son of a Chaebol Family. Currently, only 3 episodes have been released, but each episode can trigger heated discussions on the internet. The plot of The Chosen One reaches a new height, and Song Joong-ki's acting skills have exploded. He is not inferior to the veteran actor Lee Sin-min. He plays the harmless youngest son in front of people, but secretly makes plans again and again to prepare for the seizure of power. The fate of the working social animal is reversed, and the bottom-level people are given a new life choice. As for why Dojun suddenly approached the heroine, Yun Ji guessed that Jun was not a love-brained person, and the real purpose of approaching the heroine was to use his family's political resources in the future. Because the heroine's identity is not ordinary, her father is the second in command of the capital, and the reason why her grandfather disliked their family before is that Dao Jun's father married a female star without a family and did not bring any real benefits to the Chaebol family. Dao Jun keenly perceives the fragile side behind his grandfather's strength. The Chen family, which is rich enough to rival a country, needs political power the most at this time. Once he helps his grandfather solve the hidden dangers, he will definitely be one step closer to the position of heir. Facing this family with ulterior motives, even if Dojun is scheming, he will inevitably encounter obstacles and even assassinations in the future. The Chaebol family believes in the law of the jungle where the strong prey on the weak, and the battle for heirs is a war without gunpowder. In the end, whether Dojun can get perfect revenge, let us wait and see how this fierce battle at the top of the pyramid will end.